I know that we haven't been active in this. We've been traveling, which has been great. Which is kind of our topic for today: being able to travel and getting to a point where things are running in the background, still making money, things are growing, they're building, while you can do the things that you love. And I think this year has been a testament to what we've been able to accomplish because of the amount of traveling that we've been able to do. And we wanted to kind of chat about that process in regards to what it takes to get there and the feeling of getting there. But I think the first thing that I want to mention personally is maybe traveling isn't something that you love or something that you can do. We have a lot of moms or dads, parents, people that are maybe working corporate and still love to work corporate, and this is more of like a side income. So I think something that's super important for you guys to understand is on the front end, what are you looking to accomplish with whatever you're doing, right? If you're working in a business right now, or if you're working a job right now, but you're building a business and it's purely maybe like a retirement plan, or if it's something that you just want an additional stream of income because you have a lot of cash flow that you're dealing with, maybe that's your goal, and maybe it's not to have location freedom and things along those lines. But that's something that we've realized by building an Amazon business, or more generic, an online business, is you do have location freedom, you have financial freedom, you have time freedom. There's so many different things that come with an Amazon business. But again, we have listeners on here that isn't just from Amazon. We have listeners that are building other businesses, other e-commerce businesses, have retail businesses and things along those lines. So just, plant your feet, understand where that end goal, that flag is in your life and what you're looking to achieve within that. And then from there, start kind of reverse engineering on what you want to build and what you want to achieve. So this will be more generic, and we're going to put traveling as a specific example because that is one of our goals. But this can be relevant in any scenario at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think a good place of where we can start this conversation is talking, when we first started our full-time entrepreneurship route, when we started entrepreneurship, we were working corporate, right? So for us, our free time, it wasn't spent traveling, it was building the business. And I think that regardless of where you are in your life, you're always gonna have a stage in life where you're gonna be building. Building's a good thing, but the way that you want to build is you want to build so that you can do the things that you love, so that you can spend the time with the people that you want to spend time with. You can visit the places that you want to visit, of course. For us, travel was important for us. We're young. We wanted to experience what the world has to offer. We wanted to experience different cultures, and we wanted to be able to work from a laptop so that we can do what we want. We're half Filipino. We love the sun. You can see we're both pretty tanned right now, but we love the sun. Like, that's a natural thing to us. Like, we love being exposed to the sun because it feels good, right? In life, everything that feels good is kind of what you want to really experience and explore a little bit further. So on the topic of building, right, you got to start somewhere, right? Don't quit your job, go travel the world while building your business. You need to have a level of focus that will allow you to, at the end of the day, do things that you want to do in your future. For us, when we were in COVID, we were lucky because we quit in the midst of COVID. Now, the benefit to that was, the downfall to it is we literally could not do anything. We were in full lockdown here in British Columbia. We couldn't do anything. Now, the blessing to that was we used that time to build what we needed to build the processes, to build the team, to launch the products, to hire the right people so that we can do the things that we want to do. Now, me being the operations manager, one thing I always look into the future, and I don't love looking to the future all of the time, but when we look at goals, if traveling is your goal, well, then you need to think about, how much time are you spending in the business? And what are the things that you can remove off of your plate so that when you are in fact traveling, or maybe it is just you only want to work 2 days a week. Well, you need to figure out what are those things that you can minimize or not have yourself do so that you can work 2 days a week or go and travel, right? I think Brian and I can both say this, but we just spent 2 weeks in different locations and we didn't work the whole time. Like, there was maybe an hour of every day that we would work, maybe one day of the week where we would work a full day, but we weren't actively working. And it was because we were able to take that workload off of us. So think about those things that you can replace yourself from doing, and that's when you start working on the business as opposed to in the business. You have the people that you've built up to run it. You've had the sustainable income that you've built up so that you can live and do whatever you want while you are traveling or only working 2 days a week. So it's a process, to say the least, but it's, enjoy that journey, because that allows you to have the confidence that you can go do the things that you want to do.
Yeah, something that we learned in two different capacities, both at our mastermind events, was ask yourself three things. Actually, one thing that I'll mention on the front end is building, right? Building, at the end of the day, like, be very consumed in the business. You want to truly understand all of those components and what it entails at the end of the day. Because if you don't understand what every single step of the process in order to build and grow it, if you don't understand those, you can't do one of these three things that I'm about to mention. And those three things are: ask yourself, when you get to a point where your business is growing continuously, it's self-sustaining, you feel like you have a good team in place, right, that you can trust, you want to ask yourself three things. Can I eliminate? Can I automate? Or can I delegate a task? That was a super, super powerful lesson for us at the beginning of this year, because, we've mentioned this before, but we used to love to be in control. I think every entrepreneur, they get into business because they want to build something of their own dreams. So it's hard to lose control, right? You don't want to give up things because you think that you can do things better, right? But that's not the case. You're not going to be able to scale infinitely and continue growing at a rate that you can be growing. You will continue growing if you keep building and you're consuming the business, but then you're not bound to doing the things that you love to do, like travel, spending time with family. All these little things are the bottleneck, because time is your bottleneck in this scenario. So you always want to ask yourself, one, what can I eliminate? Again, as entrepreneurs, we like to do a lot. We have, this shiny object syndrome where we're literally walking towards things that stand out, meaning we're gonna try everything and anything until things stick, right? So when you have your business and it's gotten to a point where it's continuously growing, that means there's something working. You're no longer building, right? You're actually now managing it, right? So you wanna ask yourself, what are those things that are just wasting time, that aren't actually putting profit in your pocket, that are not actually building your business? You wanna get rid of those things. A super powerful lesson that Armin had taught us was, in order to scale from a let's go from a 6-figure to a 7-figure business, then a 7-figure to an 8-figure business. It's not about adding more things, building a bigger team. It's more so about simplicity. It's cutting things, simplifying things on what works in your business, and continue doing what works and stop doing what doesn't work. So simplicity is key when you're scaling to the moon, okay? So that's the first thing, right? What can you get rid of? What can you eliminate? The next one is automate. So automate and delegate, they sound very similar, but I'm gonna kind of show you the differences between them. So in order to automate your business, this is through like systems, automations, processes. So for example, we just hired an agency, to put this into perspective, that's gonna automate our actual, responses. As soon as someone opts into an email, we'll automate a trigger as opposed to responding to emails. So those are specific things that you can implement within your business, usually through a software or technology, or through specific process that you can actually go ahead and automate specific tasks. Because again, you don't need to have a human eye on those specific tasks. They can be literally computed and automated through computer software, right? So if you can do that, again, there's no longer a person as a bottleneck there. You don't need to be attentive on those tasks. You wanna ask yourself, what are those things that you can do in order to automate those portions of the business? And the last one is delegate. So when you get to a point where you've actually built a team that you trust, take a step back and start letting go of control. You've built this thing and you know what works. It's a matter of now empowering people that you've put in place that you now trust, giving them opportunity to become better leaders and better versions of themselves by giving them tasks. And it can sound, in my opinion, like, hey, I'm just dumping all this work on you. But trust me when I say this, it allows you to empower them. You become a better leader. You give them an opportunity so that they can learn more skills and help the business grow. And then on top of that, they get so much more emotionally involved with the business that they can take more control of it, because they now know us as leaders, as CEOs and COOs, C-suite people, they now know that we trust them and they feel like a sense of gratification. So understanding all three of those components and asking yourself that one question, what can I eliminate? What can I delegate? And what can I automate? If you can do that to a point, then you can take a step back and, like Eric had mentioned, work on the business as opposed to in the business, so that you can start doing the things that you love to do. Us, it's travel, right? Those are some things that we like to do, and we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have these things in place. So
yeah, I think a few things while Brian was talking that came to mind that I'd love to speak on was, number one, control. Right? As business owners, as somebody building a business, it's very typical for you to want to keep yourself in control, right? However, you, in a scenario of you growing your business, you're the bottleneck, right? If you want to always keep control, then you will not be able to go past this. You'll hit a plateau essentially, right? How do you grow a business to a $10 million business from a $1 million business? hire the right people or hire people to do it with you, right? You can never do it yourself, because yourself, you being the person that wants to keep it control is a bottleneck, but also the time. You don't simply have the resources to be able to tackle what that actually is, okay? So be okay with losing control. It's scary at first. It's totally normal to feel that way, but work with that person, right? One thing I struggled with, being a very not so controlling person, but somebody that wanted everything to be perfect, was if I saw something not be done right, I would go in and fix it myself. Well, as a leader, that doesn't help build the team, right? It doesn't help build the person that you've put in place in order to take that off of your actual plate, right? So you need to be able to trust that, hey, I hired this person to do X, Y, Z. If that person makes mistakes, let them learn from it, right? It might pull you back one step, but looking future state, it's actually going to propel your business, 5 times from now, right? So think about those things, right? You might, you have to go through a little bit of pain to grow more with the people that you hire. Now, the second thing is when you are making these hires, it's very important. Brian talked about, being a leader and them being bought into growing the company. That's very true if you have the right person, right? If you don't have the right person, then people are just gonna go squeeze everything that they can out of you. They're gonna make a lot of excuses. Those are not the people that you want. And that's why it's so important to define who makes a good person in your company. Who is that A player? What are your company values? And do they align with it? Because if they don't, then they won't support you in building out your actual company. And if you do throw a bunch of tasks on them, then they might be like, oh my God, like, why are they doing this? This is not my job, right? But as a leader, you think that, hey, I'm gonna push them a little bit further, but if they're not receptive to it, then maybe that's not the right person that you want on your team, right? So super important to consider there.
I think we should talk about that next week. Jaden, you want to make a note on that we're going to chat about team building and specifically hiring A players, because that's a 30-minute conversation on its own. But it's a very, very powerful lesson because there are different people out there. There's different ways to run your organization. So I think that could be very powerful for us to mastermind on. But I totally agree. I think at the end of the day, having the right people in place allows you to do the things. And I think, honestly, this past vacation, usually when I come back from a vacation, I come back to, in a way, a larger workload, like an overwhelming amount of work, because again, like you're traveling, you're not doing as much work. So you almost feel, I usually would make myself feel like I need to make up for that time lost. And this past vacation, I had a huge mindset shift that I want to share with you guys because again, it took me, I think we've traveled maybe 5 or 6 times this year, and I still had that underlying thought when I came back. But I think this recent one coming back last week, I didn't have this overwhelming amount of work or thought. And I think that's super important to know because I think you guys can learn from this, because you're going to go through this if traveling or whatever you're looking to achieve when that eventually comes about. But the mindset shift of the fact that you don't need to make up for the time lost, right? You're traveling to enjoy yourself. You're traveling because you have gotten to the point where you're able to travel and do the things that you wanted to do by growing your business, right? So don't come back being, I need to make up for lost time. Come back as if you were working those past 2 weeks and step into the business where it's at. Again, this is just a matter of realistically letting go of control and trusting the team you have in place. I think what it really comes down to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing I learned, I've really have tried to learn and really put into action, the past 6 months or so is, again, like I mentioned before, when you're wanting to be in control, it's very easy for you to see an issue and for you to fix it. But again, if you're looking to grow a team, it's not a matter of you fixing it, because then you're always in the business. You don't want to throw yourself off of momentum. Me as a C-suite executive in a company, I want to be thinking about the most important things that I need to focus on to grow the business. I should not have to fix a 15-minute bottleneck myself because I know it's going to take me 15 minutes. Instead, now if I have an issue, I don't do it myself. I will delegate that task to the person that I have delegated the actual role to. So if it's something operations, I'll pull Graham and be like, hey Graham, can you fix this? I'll tag him and be like, hey Graham, can you fix this? And he may not know how to fix it, but allows him to ask the questions that he needs to ask in order for me to provide a solution to him. So again, I'm coaching, I'm training, I'm building him as an employee. And now every time I do it, he doesn't have to ask me what he has to do because he's already learned the role. He's already learned the intricacies of it. So trust yourself in that. It may take more time. It may ask one more question, but if you don't have to do that 15-minute task anymore, and as soon as that issue pops up, you either tag Graham or Graham is already on it Or even better yet, nowadays, I actually have our team tag the people that we've put in place for certain portions of it. If it's anything to do with our community, anything to do with our program, question, concerns, all that kind of stuff, I get my team, like let's say my development team, my sales development team, to tag Clara, because Clara is in client success. If anything is operational, systems, technology, anything breaks in that sense, I get them to tag Graham. I don't even get them to tag me anymore, right? Because they've seen that if they were to tag me, I would just tag those two people anyways, right? So get to the point where you're comfortable doing that. But again, trust that you are building them and know that it's going to take a little bit of time. They might ask a few questions, but in the long run, it's worth it, and it's gonna save you a crap ton of time.
Yeah. Same thing goes for Amazon businesses. Like, I think something that we did really good was understand, again, every single part of the business, build standard operating procedures, literally hire a brand new virtual assistant that has no experience, train them up so that they're very coachable, and then they can actually adopt what we learn. And then it's just a matter of sending us reporting, making sure that they're going through their workflow, which we have someone actually going ahead and making sure that they're doing their work. And at the end of the day, it's a matter of growing that business. So it all kind of, regardless of the business, regardless if it's a service, whether it's a product-based business, it all kind of comes together at the end of the day. One thing that I wanted to chat about that kind of came back to my mind was, when businesses decline. This is a super powerful lesson that I learned a couple weeks ago, and it made logical sense to me. Naturally, as human beings, especially as entrepreneurs, we're always wanting to win. We're always wanting to grow. Meaning we want our business to grow at least 1%, if not more than that, every single month. Because if we know that our business is growing every single month, that naturally tells us we're doing a good job, right? That naturally tells us that the things that we have in place are working, right? But if the business starts declining, if we start to, make less profit, make less sales, we start to see a percentage declining in growth, that essentially means that things are no longer working. And what that essentially means is we need to try new things. So the journey of entrepreneurship and building a business, it's a roller coaster. It's never gonna be this upward trajectory, ever. It's always gonna be this roller coaster. You're always gonna have peaks and valleys. And I think this was within the private group, but I was teaching how you can gamify your life and put different levels within it. And naturally speaking, it's gonna be this roller coaster. And when you're going up, that means you're growing, right? That means things are working well and you have a team in place, you have process, you have systems. All of these things are working in cohesion and you're continuously growing. But as soon as you start to decline, again, what that essentially means is you need to change something, and then your mode now switches to a build mode. And that's something that really hit home with us, because naturally speaking, as entrepreneurs, when we decline, we're like, fuck, something is going wrong. Something is going wrong and we don't know what it is. You will naturally get into this bad state where you're like, what do I do? What do I do? What's the problem? What's the problem? What do I do? You get frantic, right? But if you can just, take a step in that moment and understand that it just naturally means that there's something that is no longer working, we need to go back into build mode, right? So that we can get out of this valley and back up to the peak. If you can understand that valleys are no longer valleys and valleys are just an opportunity to rebuild certain components of the business so that we can get back to the peak, you will always have this self-fulfilling circle of building a business. You don't want to have something that's continuously growing. It's not gonna be dynamic, it's gonna be boring. You're gonna have so much money in your pocket that you're gonna be like, what the hell do I do? You wanna be in a position to always test yourself and step outside of your comfort zone, because that's how you grow as a person. Especially if it's your first business, if you can go through these challenges, these valleys, and come back on top and get to those peaks, you're gonna build this resilience that's gonna help you in all of your businesses moving forward. Trust me when I say that.
Absolutely. And leading back into travel, again, those things will happen, but the more of that you experience, the better the foundation that you build so that you can do the things that you love. So yeah, I think, we started off with travel, but we talked about business and leadership and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's where a lot of the conversation in building a business really goes to. But ultimately, if you want to do the things that you love, you need to be able to build a business that is sustainable to be able to do those things, right? And that comes with people, that comes with process and technology, that comes with trust in losing or giving up control, not losing control, my bad. And yeah, you just need to be really on par with all those things in the process of building the business. And like Gary Vee always says, you need to enjoy the process because it's going going to happen that one day things completely break or something bad happens in the business. But if you look at that as a massive problem as opposed to a massive opportunity, well, you're gonna really live in that issue, and you're not gonna be very happy with how things are gonna go, and you're probably not gonna build it the right way after that, or fix it, or try to fix it the right way.
I agree.
Cool.
Awesome, guys.
All right, guys, we have the topic for next week as well, which is like leadership, hiring, what makes a person an A player, so on and so forth. So excited to chat with you guys Monday, and I hope you guys have an amazing day.